We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and my guest today is author Anita Green, author of Don't Compare Yourself to Others. Anita, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Neil? It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you about this. But first, tell me a little bit about your background, and then we'll get to the topic today.
Well, I have been working with over 50,000 men for the last 40 years, over the last 40 years. I've been a personal stylist for men and also a coach, a success and relationship coach for men. And in getting to know men so well and understanding where the disconnects are between men and women from the man's perspective, and of course, I have my own because I'm a woman, I started coaching women on how to speak the way men listen. It sounds like something that should be really simple, but it is simple, but it's very specific. And I've read hundreds of books and researched it for years to really understand it. And I thought I just have such a unique skill set of having worked with the men to know how they feel about stuff and how they take something that a woman says and how we think we're understood and we're not. So I help women be understood.
All right, so let's go to the topic. How should women speak to men to get there?
Well, there's a lot of ways. First of all, we as women tend to want to give you all the little nitty gritty details on everything, and you don't even care. It's not what you're interested in. You mostly want the bottom line. Most men do. And there's a lot of science around in a personal relationship, how men shut down in about 6.5 minutes, which is interesting. So once a woman has that awareness, then she's going to get to the point a lot more quickly. So it's important to pick your timing really, really well. There was an old comedian that did something called Defending the Caveman. And he said, man does not watch TV, man becomes the TV. And that was so true. It's not a slam. It's just the way men watch TV. So it's not the best time to speak to a man about something. He's become the TV. He's watching his favorite team play. It's not a good time. So pick your timing wisely. Choose your words carefully, your intention carefully, and what you want your outcome to be with the conversation, and get to the point quickly. Like I just said, those three things alone would make a huge difference. There's a whole lot more science and stuff to it, but that kind of gets to the bottom line.
Get to the point quickly. So you don't want to go into just many different layers, just go right to it. Why do men need that?
When a man wants more information, he will ask you for it. Men process things in a completely different way. And so when you're giving and a lot of this comes from social upbringing, from when you were a kid, from when you were a little boy versus little girls, the way that little girls communicated and connected and had relationships with their girlfriends was by telling them every little dirty secret and every little detail about their lives. Whereas the little boys, for the most part, wanted to have respect in a different way, and they would do it through physicality or by being a leader. And so that's brought things in. So we don't communicate the same from those reasons alone. There are many other brain reasons that we communicate slightly differently, but it's different enough to make a huge difference. So most men, you can't say all men or all women do anything. I think a lot more like a man, and my husband thinks a lot more like a woman. And we've been married 49 years. So it's kind of an interesting thing, since this is something that I coach. But I just understand how getting to the point, it really makes a man happy. I mean, because of all the women I've coached, I get to hear what their bosses and husbands have said once I've coached them a little bit. And I had a husband recently, they were about to get a divorce, and the husband said, after 22 years, you finally get me. And it was just a change in the way I helped her think about her perception of what he was saying, his perception of what she was saying. Women also have a tendency, it's not a slam, it's an observation, and there's a lot of science to back up the observation. A lot of women have the need to share too much, like I said before, but also speak in hints and clues. And men don't speak in hints and clues. So
Mind readers, right? That's what
Yes, exactly.
I,
Exactly.
if you don't know what's going on, how can you help or help the problem or understand why? And
Exactly.
that's so tough for men to understand those things because I guess the black and white thinking that men have. Not
Oftentimes, yes. So that's just the extra details often come across to a man as noise. And then to a woman, when you're not really tuned in and listening, it comes across as you're not paying attention to me. I have listened to thousands and thousands of women, the wives of the men that I have coached, speak to me for years saying, my husband never listens to me. My boss doesn't listen to me. My teenage son doesn't listen to me. And the thing is, I get it. And it takes me about 2 seconds to figure out where the gap is and say, because this is what you said, this is how he heard it. And once you start clearing things up, and I do a lot of role playing, and it really helps. And the women go, oh, but oftentimes the women will say, well, why do I have to change the way I talk to be understood? Because it will give you everything you want in your life. You will make more money. You will have better relationships. You'll land that big deal and you'll be happier. And so will the man. It's a win-win situation for both.
so. One other tip you can provide women right now: how you should talk to men.
Take 2 seconds to think before you speak and think about what your intention is. Because your intention, in speaking, there's so many things that communication, like 7% of communication is your words, 38% is your facial expression, your tone of voice, how fast you're speaking, 55% is your body language. So once women understand all of that, then they will choose their words more carefully and their timing more carefully, and they'll get to the point more quickly.
Okay, best place people can find information on you, Anita, is go where and purchase.
My website is Anita F like Frank Green .com. AnitaFgreen.com. That'd be a great place to start, or you can book a call with me at speakwithanita.com.
Appreciate it, Anita. This is a great topic. You're definitely looking at the Mars Venus thing in a different aspect by being the expert to how to speak to men, and there's definitely a art to it as you brought up today. So I appreciate you coming by.
Oh, thank you so much, Neil. It's a pleasure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.